Elaine Shauger here, APS. Dan's going to talk about computer lessons. Daniel is the only master in the whole world of golf with his down and up. Listen to what he says about the computer lessons.
I'd like to talk about the way people are going about learning golf now being bad for the ultimately learning the game and kind of slowing them down while they think they're going forward and they're spending money to do it. And I'd like to tell you what you really should avoid. There is some use for what I'm going to tell you, but it's not the way most people think of it. And that is video lessons done with computers. Now, I have absolutely nothing against video and computers. They can tell a huge story. But the story they tell has to be understood properly, and it has to come with a description to you that makes you fix what you did, and it has to be the right description. A lot of people don't know what they're preaching, and they teach what they think is a repair when really all it is kind of a Band-Aid on a portion of the swing. And let me go a little farther with that. Having said that about learning, let me say this. Nothing is better for fitting a driver or a golf club to you than computers that read what you did when you hit the ball. That's absolutely, if you want to get a driver made for you, you need that. Or you need a very knowledgeable person who can determine what you need. Someone like myself, I can fit drivers very, very well without the use of machines. Probably a machine might make it 2 or 3% better, but certainly not enough to make a big difference because I know really what needs to be done. But there are very few people like me that can do that. Now, for learning to hit the ball, though, it's an entirely different matter. When you're using the computer program to determine your club face, you can get things like backspin. How much backspin do you got? You want to have the right amount of backspin. Too much makes it go up in the air, too little and it doesn't fly far enough. So those are important things that is very hard to get by eye, but you can if you've got experience. Now when it comes to hitting the ball, the way these machines work is they have some of them, they're not all alike, but they usually have some sensors that tell you the path of the club here. They show you the face angle where it is as it goes around. They show you face angle and impact, and that seems to be one they're most interested in. They show you the path of the club to and from the ball. They show you shaft angle, where your shaft is leaning forward. They show you club head speed, and then they give you a readout of your shot. Tells you how far it went, did it curve, what did it do? The bottom line is, learning from impact back to where you came from is like trying to fix an accident based on the photograph of the accident. Unfortunately, if you don't know the proper body movements that create the proper path, and you simply try to make the proper, assuming that the person has a path error, a lot of people do, assuming the person's path error is coming from out there instead of coming from in here, and the path has to take the club from inside the line, down and out, and then back up and in, because that's how it comes. Down, it's up here behind you, it has to come down, it has to go out, it has to intercept the flight line, it has to turn around and come back up on a similar flat plane. Now, if you're going to try to make a repair on someone who has an outside in swing, well, there's at least 3 ways I can think of to do that. But if your goal is to simply tell that person he has to swing on this path to do it, assuming that his body motion that created that path is bad in the first place, he has to make an even worse body motion to try to get the club to do what he wants it to do. And he may do it while he's there, and he might hit that shot, and it might look good. But there's really no freedom to that movement because his body didn't move the club in a free manner to get to the ball. That club has got to be freewheeling. You want to hit that golf ball, you can't be controlling it. You have to know that it's going to come back to that ball right. You have to know it's going to come back to that ball right because of all of the things you did going back and starting down that are going to make it right when it gets there. And if you don't have the right description of that, trying to create a path is a problem. Then you have impact. Say you're coming in with an open club face, or you're coming in there with a closed club face. You got the right path, but now your teacher says to you, okay, well, your club face is open. You need to get that right hand up there a little more when you hit it. something that's crazy to try to control. It's such a fleeting moment. But anyway, like I said, you might have the path from the last lesson, and now you're trying to control that club head. What you're going to do is you're going to try to get your hands into a certain position. You're going to be focusing on that. That's your focus. And generally when that happens, you can't be swinging freely because you're trying to control it. The second you're trying to control it, again, you got a problem. So the club head must be going through here fast and freely, and that's a product, again, of all the things we did there. Now, to compound the problem, you got those 2 weeks lessons, and things were going pretty good. And now you go back to your pro, and he said, let's see what we had here. Well, gee, you know, Charlie, you only got 81 miles an hour club head speed. We're going to have to increase that club head speed. So now your thought, again, it's always on the club head. I'm going to increase that club head speed, and you're going to start swinging at it harder with your arms, and I'm pretty likely the other problems are going to creep back in, and you're going to be back for more lessons. So learning that way is not good. It's much better to learn the sequence of the body movements, what they do, why they do it, and how they make the perfect golf swing. And when you learn that, you don't need to think about it. All you got to do is make the right backswing movements, start them with the right beginning of the downswing movements, let the club go, and you get your golf shot. Once you've got that nice free movement, you want to go back, check your angles and your alignments and make sure everything's good, go back and see them in. But learn the swing first. So wherever you're taking these lessons, video lessons, make sure that the person who's teaching you actually knows what these things are. Because if not, he could mislead you all over the place, and there's nothing worse than bad advice in golf. Another thing you're going to find there's plenty of in golf is free advice. Free advice is probably the worst advice. Spend a few pennies, learn how to do it right. Much cheaper over the long run on range balls and equipment that you think you can buy that are going to play the game for you. Remember this, a good player can play with lousy equipment, but a lousy player can't play with good equipment.